I really wish I could have been there. I was in Athens yesterday doing the Athens version of that on campus. Had a it was like we had the conservatives at the Athens Country Club. We had the liberals over at the we had the liberals over at UGA. It's like we got a little bit of both. Okay, two things I'm going to show you today. Man, he's actually working on the media bias project. I was hoping he'd be here to talk about his contribution to this. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to look at whether or not there is liberal media bias, whether there is any media bias, and if so, which direction it goes. And some material that has been put together by a couple students, and we have not had. You did the New Hampshire paper, right, Salman?
Yep.
Okay. We haven't had time to incorporate that one into the overall research project, so we just have it for 2 newspapers. But I can show you some preliminary results and give you an example of what we do in research methods, which is probably one of the most valuable courses you can take in your undergraduate years, no matter where you take it. Statistics, research methods, something like this. Just letting you know, it's something that opens doors. It really does. I can't emphasize that enough. You know, it's one more example of something that you can do that many of your counterparts cannot do. Just to give an example how this works in real life, my wife worked for the Department of State for Florida. She was a living history reenactor, and so they were kind of having a fundraiser. She worked at a Spanish mission. She dressed up like some Spanish lady. She looked up like what the costumes that they had back then, and she like made herself an outfit based on that for her job, which was, you know, like a lot. You ever go on field trips and you go to a living history place? Like how many of y'all went to Westville as a kid? Did y'all do that? Go to Westville? It's kind of like Westville, only a Spanish mission where Indians were. And anyway, so there was a fundraiser for that, and they were trying to get up some money for this. And incidentally, if you go down there to Tallahassee, anybody been down to Tallahassee? A couple of y'all? I recommend you go. It's called Mission San Luis. They built up, it just started out with a mansion where they discovered the remains of this site. People did a lot more research, they did some more digging, but it's actually several sororities at FSU to earn their hours. They helped build 2 or 3 of the houses. You know, the expert said, here's how you build a wattle and daub house, and they built them. So it may not say, it may not have the KD or 5U or something, AG, Alpha Omicron Pi. It may not say that on the houses themselves, but it probably should somewhere know that who built them or so. But it's kind of impressive work. But anyway, there was at this fundraiser, there was a guy who's fairly well off who was from Tampa at this fundraising, and he introduced himself, asked who I was, and I told him I was a graduate student at Florida State University. Oh, what field? Political science. He laughed. He goes, oh, political science, like one of those contradictions in terms. And he goes, what do you actually do with your political science degree? And this was just in my 2nd year. So I told him about the work I was doing in the research, like the application of stats to a series of models, and he started getting more and more interested. At the end, he gave me his business card, and he said, if you ever want to kind of drop out of academia and get into the business world, you know, if you want to take a break from getting your PhD and, you know, get in the business world, make some money, I think it was $50,000 starting salary back then. But yeah, just handed me the business card and said, call us up. And I've had more than one friend of mine who's been in graduate studies. They get their master's degree, they jump out to make the real money. One of them worked for QVC. He left a tenure-track job in Texas to work for QVC. Y'all know what QVC is? Like that, it's almost like a home shopping network or something like that. Yeah, he makes tons more money. That's what he said. He got married, had a kid, and decided he'd make more money as a marketing representative. Especially, we had a guy who was a political science major, and he doubled with business. VP of Merrill Lynch. They were happy to get him. They said, what's your major? And he loved political science. Business was something, it was kind of like the family deal. What family was making a difference. He goes, well, political science, and he was going to take it back and be like, really? Good. You're in. And they said, that means we can train you. You'll be good with numbers. You know how to do stuff. He's VP. They said, you're not one of the business types, are you? Like, we don't like them. They think they know everything, and they'll tell us what to do. No, you'll work our way, which is what he did. So take advantage of these opportunities. Some of what you got to do is you got to look at data, you got to look at research, and you got to make a call. So some of it you'll look at numbers, some of it you'll test some numbers to see. The best thing I can tell you to do to be the best political scientist is to be about as unbiased as possible. Really, every single time, like I got biased by those polls. I was looking at the late polls. I should have looked at the bigger picture. One of our former grads actually told me, he goes, "Dr. you weren't off," and he told me my quotes from 2015, where evidently I was much closer to predicting a Trump victory over Clinton than anything. Yeah, but like sometimes, like a painting, you get up real close, you can't see it as well, right? You gotta step back and take a look. So even professors like myself can be biased. How many times have you heard that phrase liberal media bias? None of y'all have heard that before? Go ahead, raise your hand, stretch. Stretch a little. Anybody heard that? I've heard that plenty. Certainly media bias, and I say this because I was a communication major. And people are always accusing us of bias. So we're going to look at results. We're going to make sure you jot down information and see if we can't find patterns. Because even if you don't find the expected pattern, it doesn't mean that there isn't a pattern. Sometimes the pattern's in a different direction. Sometimes it's not having to do with the left or the right direction. It's something else. And then I'm going to give you an updated version, which might blow that pattern. Okay. First off, I'm going to start with this. This was something I added late. I update from time to time a graphic. Because it's like, okay, it's 5 years outdated. So this is the first time I'm debuting this. This is relatively recently from 2014. Oh, dang it, I knew this was going to happen. Sorry. You got that, sorry. Okay, just going to have to do it this way. So y'all, if you're in the back, you can't see, pull up the slides on your own or move in a little closer. Why don't you? Can y'all see it? We're at about slide 5. Where do Americans get their news sources? Where do Democrats get their news sources? Where do Republicans get their news sources? Because there's an argument, right? Where do people think, without even looking at the data, where do you think people get their news source from, if you're a Democrat? No thoughts?
CNN.
Yeah, you go to CNN. If you're a Republican, you go to Fox News. Yeah, I used to work for Fox, by the way. Not Fox News, just Fox. An El Paso affiliate TV station. It was the first year Fox was a national program. Incidentally, anybody here watched The Simpsons? Raise your hand if you've ever watched The Simpsons. What would you say? Leans left, leans right?
I think it just makes fun of people. I think it makes fun of everybody.
Ah, yeah, it does. Believe it or not, the author or the person who put it together, Matt Groening, if you follow him enough, that's not his first cartoon. He's done other cartoons. I think personally he leans left. But you know, you're right. It jumps on everybody. Wait a second. Wait a second. How's that possible at Fox? Anybody ever seen the TV series 21 Jump Street? That was another. Basically, when we were at Fox, we had 4 big programs. And everything else was not that good. But to be a national network, you had to have 4 nights of independent programming, 8 to 11. So any other time, we looked like all these cable TV stations where they would run reruns of things. So we ran The Flintstones, we ran I Love Lucy, we ran Bewitched, we ran I Dream of Jeannie, we ran Green Acres, we ran, it was a Beverly Hillbillies. You know, just like, it was like a mix of TV Land and TBS. But from 8 to 11, 4 nights of independent programming. And what they had is they had 4 good shows. Believe it or not, The Simpsons saved Fox because they had 3 halfway decent shows. 21 Jump Street, Married with Children, and something called The Tracy Ullman Show, which was a variety show. And then they had a lot of garbage the other night. They were dead in ratings. But on The Tracy Ullman Show, they started running these little 5-minute cartoons that were making fun of a family. And it was actually The Simpsons, and they liked it so much. And everyone's like, nobody else liked this Tracy Ullman Show. They were tuning in, well, they thought it was okay. No better than anything else on the other networks. But they liked The Simpsons. And so they gave it its whole TV show. And now it's one of the longest running TV shows in history. Isn't that interesting? It was a spin-off. It was a little 5-minute segment that they ran in the middle of this 1-hour variety show. It wasn't even meant to be. a full-time. And now it's like seen as like, like America's greatest sitcom, not just animated. But if you think about it, if you ever watched episodes of 21 Jump Street, the bent is definitely liberal. It took on a series of liberal causes. I mean, if you watch the shows, and you're like, how does that jive with Fox News? Well, if you know anything about Fox, what Fox is trying to do is Fox is trying to be different from everyone else. They tried to be different in their broadcast from CBS, ABC, and NBC News. At the time, the top-rated shows were like Home Improvement and Golden Girls. There wasn't that much that was like kind of edgy. Everything was like kind of soft, vanilla, boring. And so like The Simpsons was edgy. 21 Jump Street was pretty gritty. I mean, you were watching like kids die in the show where you have these cops really infiltrating a school. I know they've spoofed it in movies, right? Anybody seen those 21 Jump Street or something? I didn't see those yet because I like the TV show too much. I don't want to like watch them. But basically, Fox got its niche because they were trying to be different at whatever they did. They looked at what everyone else did, and they decided to do different. So keep that in mind. The value of offering something other than what everyone else had. Okay. So, where do Republicans and Democrats get their news? Where is their big difference? Show me the biggest difference between Democratic viewers and Republican viewers. What do you see? Look at the board, look at your laptops, look at your cell phones. Look at me. I just want to see who's going to look at me. Great, only 3 people. Okay, 4. All right, what's the biggest difference between Republicans and Democrats in terms of viewership? Go ahead, what is the biggest difference, the biggest gap?
National news?
National news what?
Network?
Yeah, okay, so watch it in networks. Okay. What's the second biggest difference? Go ahead, don't be bashful. What do you see? Tell me what you see. Like art class, like somebody looks at like a drawing and they say, tell me what you see. Graphs are half art, half science. What do you see? Come on. You're here. I wouldn't ask you if I didn't care what you were thinking. I wouldn't know what you're thinking. 24-hour TV news. Who's more likely to watch that? Okay, so Republicans are more likely to watch 24. And incidentally, I've known plenty of people who are Democrats who complain about Republican relatives. They'll say that when they go visit them, they're like, they're like, Fox News channel stays on 24 hours. Like they'll leave it, like nobody turns it off. Even when everyone leaves the room, it's on. Or do we know Democrats like that too? Or like lead on CNN headline news even when you're leaving the room? MSNBC. Go ahead, what's your overall conclusion when you see this? What's the biggest lesson that we're learning? What do you see, or more accurately, what do you not see? What's the story with this?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, so it's not like it's about ready to go frame or something like that, like you got wires exposed or something?
Well, I was going to do it all the way down, but this right here took an hour, so.
Oh, it's something to do like while I'm talking. No, I'm teasing you, you're looking. Go ahead, what do you see or what do you not see? What jumps out at you? What's the most surprising thing here? What's the biggest shocking thing here? Is there a big picture? Reminds me, have you ever seen these ads from the 90s? Or not these artworks you ever see? And just like this big swirl of stuff, you can't see anything. And some people are like looking at them and they look close enough and they can see an elephant. Like, yeah, I see the elephant. And you're like staring like your eyes are bleeding. Like, I don't see anything. It looks like a big mashup. You ever seen those? It's like you stare at it long enough and then somebody sees it, and it tells you like what you're gonna see. It's a dolphin. You know, you're like, I don't see a dolphin. They made fun of that during the Clinton years. It was a great political cartoon where you see a Democrat staring at this big map and it says Whitewater, which was a big confusing scandal. And Democrat staring goes, I don't see anything. And the Republican elephant's going, it's like as clear as day. Reality is somewhere in between. No observations? It took you a while to figure out what's the biggest difference between them. Is that part of the problem or part of the quandary? All right, Cindy, you're in charge of a marketing firm. You want to appeal to Republicans. You got to figure out what most Republicans are watching to get the biggest market share. What jumps out at you is the biggest place to put your money to capture Republican identity? Let's say you sell golfing equipment and you theorize that Republicans are more likely to golf than Democrats.
Local TV news.
Local TV news? Okay. Yeah, it's the largest. Much different from Democrats? In fact, isn't that the case for almost all of them? It doesn't look like they differ very much in their viewing habits, right? See, sometimes when you look at a graph, don't just look for what you see, but what you don't see. Which is, if there were really strong partisan differences, you'd have a whole bunch of Democrats watching like, online sources, and a whole bunch of Republicans listening to radio to get their news. But there's no big swing, is there? Republicans and Democrats are pretty similar in their habits. The most difference we have is about 10 percentage points on cable TV news channels and maybe national news networks. It's barely any difference. Is that not shocking? Aren't we told that like only Republicans listen to talk radio? Only Democrats watch the local news? Yeah, but they're not that much different. Only Democrats read newspapers. Only Republicans read magazines. No, there's no difference between them. Very little, if any. Okay, let's take a look at it by age. This one I think I can go to. All right, take a look at this slide. Does news consumption differ by age? Okay, so which party you support doesn't change your viewing habits. How about your age? Hey, want to know a neat trick I did in American Experience class? This is back when one of the issues that we studied was gay marriage. I walked into class and I told the class, I said, I can predict your support of gay marriage by your birthday and your zip code. Oh, did I have everybody eating out of my hand on that? They were like, I just said I was going to perform a magic trick. I was going to be like that. You ever see they're called like the Four Horsemen, they make a movie about them. There's like Woody Harrelson and stuff that makes stuff disappear. You ever see those movies? Is it called Now You See Me? Or is that something? What do you call those? They're like magic movies. Morgan Freeman's in it. Is it Now You See Me? The sequel come out yet? I keep waiting for the sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, did I miss it? Dang. Oh well. Well, what it was is, looking at all the variables, where you live, rural or urban, or how old you are the two best predictors of gay marriage support. Get it? Men and women don't differ too much on the issue. All the other variables we looked at, they didn't matter that much. I just thought, but it sounds really cool when you say, predict your stand on gay marriage, like birthday and zip code. That gets everybody excited. All right, let's pick by birthday, what kind of news? Now, is there a big difference by age? So not much different by party, but how about by age? Something jump out at you?
People who are 65 and older watch more cable TV
Yeah,
news,
cable
but not
TV
that
news.
much more than the 18 to 29-year-old age gap.
Okay, cable TV news leads in 3 out of the 4 age categories. So why did you focus in on that? Is there some place where it seems to significantly jump out more than others?
Not really. I mean, compared to the 18 to 29, it's really just not that big of a difference, but it's still more significant than what we saw on the last slide.
Okay, well let's take a look at this. All right, cable TV news. Does it Does it get stronger as you get older? Support for it? You bet. I mean, think about this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. With 11 options, getting 40% is like a landslide, folks. Dead serious. If you don't believe me, study parliamentary politics. For 11 options, 40% is very large. Borderline landslide. So a lot of older people are watching cable TV news. How do they do on social media? Isn't that what the younger people like? Where's social media on there, Ron? The what? Oh, for older people. God, it's like nowhere. All right, let's do the reverse. Betsy, what do younger people like the most? Where do they get most of their news?
Social media.
Isn't that interesting? Have you all followed the whole Twitter news, the Facebook debate? Tell me what that's about.
You mean like videos, like what's happening in the news on Facebook?
No, there's a big debate about social media and news postings.
Oh, that's something
Yeah. Facebook news. Yeah, people are posting fake news. Why? It's targeting you. It doesn't have to go through like the regular media filters. If you just stuck it on Google, great, join the other billion websites. But it's like targeted. All right. Now for a true comparison, what was number one for the 65 and older crowd? Cable TV. All right, how about your generation? What's it show?
Social media.
Yeah, I know social media, but where does cable TV show?
12.
Okay, so still kind of clumped together in third. 35% is still a fair amount. That's a third of all people. That's like your primary source of news is going to Facebook. Now I got a question for you. Who here goes social media and look for news ever? None of y'all?
Well, it depends on what kind of news, like news from the school, I will go on there.
Oh, okay. So like Facebook?
Yeah.
Have you all ever how do y'all get your, do you sign up for a site and they just like give you an article or two, or how does it work?
Nope, you can post it.
Oh, okay, so like a peer group share stuff. Like, hey, here's an interesting article. What's an example of one that you got? Okay. Is it from like a credible news source maybe, or something like that? Or just, hey, I just found this randomly on the web? Oh, okay. I mean, I get to see all the the Obama-Biden memes or so. My wife shares all those with me. She showed me another one today. Where they get a lot of balloons and get all the static and put it on Donald Trump's hair and see what happens. I actually saw that in the conservative magazine. They were thinking that those are pretty funny. But yeah. How about for your folks? What are your folks about? 50, 64, 30, 49? Look where social media is. Take a look at this. Do you see social media? Are you following this? This is what we call a negative relationship, folks. The older you get, the worse social media does. You notice that? Goes down, 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 down. Cable TV news, and more of a positive relationship. The older you get, the more you watch it, and not only that, in bigger proportions of your age group. So you understand that? So if I were to ask you a theory, or if I were to show you the data and I say, come up with a theory about this, a hypothesis on the exam, could you do that? Let's see, look at this, 6 times more likely to watch late night comedy for news, like Jon Stewart, The Daily Show, or Mad TV, compared to older people. 6 times as often likely to watch. Anybody here watch comedy TV? Or Mad TV?
Comedy Central.
Or Comedy Central, that's what I mean, sorry. Yeah, more people are going to get their news that way. How about local TV? That seems to be popular. Oh look, same proportion of younger people and older people watch local TV news. So it's not like everybody is night and day. What's something that older people watch that younger people don't, or get their news? What's something that older people do that younger people don't? I feel like Family Feud. Is that guy Steve Harvey? Is he the guy who does Family Feud now?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he called the election results? I started doing a meme about it. My wife says, "Too late. Somebody else in New York did it." You remember that? He read the wrong person. Hey, it gets confusing because suddenly like they opened up the number 2 and then you announce it. You don't realize it's supposed to be that. Anyway, what's something that I feel like Steve Harvey? What's something that a place where younger people get their news that older people don't? Not just social media. What else? How many of y'all have an app for a news site? Anybody here got an app for a news site? We can click on. Who's got an app for the Weather Channel? Raise your hand. All right. When's this? Really? Oh, almost everybody. Oh, good.
It comes with the phone.
It comes with the. Oh, okay. Hey. Oh shit! I got NFL Mobile. Like, do I have to activate it or something? Do I have to pay NFL Mobile? I didn't get to see the end. Did Carolina hold on?
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all know that. All right. Anybody got an app for a news site? Oh, look, I have something called Slacker Radio. Boy, that sounds great. Anybody got an app for a news site?
No.
Nobody does an app for a news site? Can you get one? Like, can you just download it? Does it cost anything?
No, it's free.
So if I did like CNN, I just click on it, it would just give me CNN news or something?
You can also get like Daily Show news and stuff.
Ooh, even more interesting. Okay. Couple things before we do the media bias test and finish out. 2 other factors about mass media that you got to know about, and this comes from my media studies, but it's also in your textbook. The mirror reality. The argument being that somebody says, "Oh, how many times you heard this? You get together with the folks around Thanksgiving, and the TV's off. Why don't you turn on the TV? Hey, let's turn on TV and watch something." No, I don't want to do it. It's all that sex and violence. Who's heard this before? Nobody heard this? Or like, I don't want to watch any of that. All that crude, lewd behavior. You ever heard that? Yeah. The mirror reality says, we're just showing you how the world is. Does that make sense? Do you understand how that works like a mirror? You look in the mirror, it reflects back who you are. This concept says that the mirror reflects reality. So if there's a lot of negative politics out there, what does that mean?
That's just how the world.
That's just how the world is. We're not showing you a lot of bad stuff. This is just what the politics environment's like. Because how many times do you hear people say, good stuff's not being shown? All they do is they just focus on the few negative comments. They're like, nope, we're just showing you, if it looks like a mean, nasty race, that's because it is. Do y'all agree? Whether it's politics or just social behavior, do you think that the media gives you a distorted view of what's going on, or do you think it's just reflective reality?
I think it's distorted.
Really? What makes you, I'm not disagreeing. I'm doing this not to like put you on the spot. I am putting you on the spot, but I'm interested in what you have to say. What makes you think that it's not, that it's distorting stuff? It's giving you, as they would say, a perverted view of reality.
I may sound like a conspiracy theorist.
No, it's okay. It's political science. Go ahead.
I feel like they show you certain things maybe to underhandedly promote other things.
Ooh, there's like hidden agendas. What would be a good example? Anybody else agree? I see 1 or 2 people nodding. Who else agrees that the media is not showing you reality, they're showing you a certain type of reality? What would be an example of that? You got me hooked now. I'm interested. Usually people don't say. They just go, yeah or no.
So maybe they show robberies or something, and then certain people feel like maybe I should buy a gun to protect myself, or a security system, a better security system, since there have been a lot of break-ins.
What's the most famous vehicle in the 1990s? And what color is this vehicle? You don't know? Any guesses? We had and they actually had a whole TV series about the O.J. Simpson trial, like over the last 2 years. Now do you know where I'm going with this? Over and over again, probably the most used words. When was this? 1994? White Ford. What? Yeah, see, isn't that interesting? I knew a professor, he was an art professor. He asked me, he said, do you think they're making, instead of saying, oh wow, O.J. Simpson's trying to flee, or something like that, and the police are all chasing him, how many times they emphasize white Ford Bronco? Almost like it's like they're trying to sell it. Incidentally, white Ford Bronco sales spiked through the roof after that. Did y'all notice product placements in your movies? I remember there was like a fight scene in the movie, it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It was, I'm trying to remember. It was terrible compared to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park figured it out, but I'm trying to remember what one it was. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's like a movie star, but he's playing himself. He has to like suddenly, like, he's involved in a real life case or something like that, and he has to figure out stuff. He's helping some kid. I can't think of the name of it.
I've seen that one before.
Yeah, but there's a big
Last
fight.
Action? Was it The Last Action or something?
Last Action Hero. Excellent. If you watch, there's like a fight scene, a 20-minute fight scene in an alleyway, and at the end of the alleyway is a giant Pepsi vending machine. Now, how many vending machines do you see in an alley?
No.
Seriously! Wait, I need to get a Pepsi. Oh wait, that looks like a seedy enough alley. I think I'll go down there with my money. It wasn't even like a good alley. But it was like really bright at night. It was like Pepsi. See, I'm in media major, so we talked about this all the time. But afterwards, I told people, I said, yeah, there was like a vending machine down there. I was like, really? And I said, yeah, what vending machine was it? Almost everybody goes, oh, Pepsi. Yeah, it's in your head. All right, everybody, eyes toward me. I'm going to do a little experiment. Take you about 10 seconds so you can get back to Facebook. Just ready? Don't think of pink elephants. Yeah, too late, huh? Messed it up. That's that, right? Oh, well. That'll be bipartisan. Don't think of pink donkeys.
She's like, what?
Yeah. Diane Ziegler making the argument against those who support mirror reality. He says, yeah, it may be a little more driven than we think. In particular, they tend to focus heavily on saying that we have what's known as a bad news bias. Here's a great quote to write down for your notes today. You've probably heard this before. Ready? Finish the sentence. If it bleeds,
It reads.
or it leads. Yeah. If it bleeds, it leads, or it reads.
All right, you're gonna turn around and look at me. If it bleeds, you're gonna read it. It reads. Yeah.
It's like if it
Turn
leads,
back
it
around.
leads. Not only does it lead, but it's going to be front page news. Yeah, in fact, that's what we learned in communication theory. Are you transferred like you did media studies? Yeah, but that's the argument. Like bad news bias. You lead with the bad news. Freedom writer Hank Johnson, when he came here 2 years ago, he told us. I was telling him at the time I was writing for Huffington Post. And so I told him, when we talked a little bit, he said, I said, what suggestion do you have for the media? And you know what he said? He said, you've got to tell the truth, the whole truth, like what's really happening. He is up in Atlanta. He's doing some consulting thing. He said, we had at the school, he teaches, it's predominantly African-American school, like the highest percentage of people who graduated from an ROTC program who were accepted at military academies. A huge honor for this school that he consults at, that he helps out at. Called up every media organization. Nobody came out to report it. And we can think of this as a fairly positive thing, right? Especially not a school that was expected to by conventional wisdom. But you know what he told me? He said later that day, somebody just phoned in a fake, like called up like a prank story that there was a fight to occur at that school. All the media trucks showed up. Bad news bias. They were chasing I mean, not even like, nobody was killed, it didn't even exist as a story. Somebody just, I guess they wanted to just like, you know, make trouble for the school. But yeah, nobody came out to report the positive story. But everyone rushed over with the full media trucks. I should tell you something. It's not always the case. We had a fair number of people, three media organizations showed up to our White House bounce house. But still. A couple other things to know about. You don't need to worry about the not have time for the fairness doctrine. It's not really enforced anyway, or the absence of malice case. Although it is kind of interesting. I'll mention the New York Times versus Sullivan case is a really key case. Why you should know about this, because this is going to be one of the most debated cases. Probably as much, if not more, than Roe versus Wade over the next 4 years. So jot this down in your notes. And remember this for when I tell you. 1964. Y'all know this during the Civil Rights Movement. A lot of towns in the South. There were civil rights marches. There was also law enforcement. They were cracking down on protesters. True story. A Washington, not Washington, D.C., but a state of Washington representative advanced a bill last night to say that anyone who organizes a protest is guilty of economic terrorism. You can look that up. I think somebody should be guilty of it. If you get a trash can, you throw it through a McDonald's during a protest. They're talking about people who organize a protest. Which is, if it's not terrifying to you as a liberal, moderate, or conservative, it probably should be. Anyway, New York Times covered one of these marches. Sure enough, as the guy who's in charge of the Department of Public Safety, his last name was Sullivan, they did some stories about how he was his men were beating up on protests. And I don't mean to shock you all as liberals or conservatives, but the New York Times kind of exaggerated this story. It kind of, they added in a couple things that may or may not have happened. And certainly, I mean, there was a crackdown on the protest. That's not without question. But they added in a couple extra things. Sullivan, who's the head of the Department of Public Safety, he sued the New York Times. That's okay. It sounds like when my direction finder kept going, I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah.
I was walking into the restaurant and Siri is still telling me where to go. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's what happened last night. I was in the apartments and apparently I was going through the house, so. Yeah, I don't.
Lindsay's Australian guy at least turned off. So the New York Times kind of embellished the story a bit. There was a crackdown. People did get hurt. Did they use water cannons? There were dogs there. Did dogs like bite and maim people? Nah, they probably bit some people. They embellished. So Sullivan took the New York Times to court. He sued. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled in 1964 it was okay for the New York Times to take a little extra license with the story. He was a public figure, Sullivan, and so public figures are open to criticism. The New York Times didn't have to verify some of the story details. Public figures are subjected to criticism. You don't have to prove that the person did. This is the backbone of the First Amendment with regards to the press. Everything stems from them. As long as it's not an outright malicious lie, like, no crackdown occurred whatsoever. They patted everybody on the back and gave them a Pepsi. I'm sorry, I already did product placement for Pepsi. Y'all are going to go out and buy a Pepsi right now. A Dr. Pepper. Like that guy Larry Culpepper from all those ads, the guy who came up with the playoff system. I love those ads. this is the law that's going to be revisited over the next 4 years. What can you say about a public figure? Should there be censorship? What do y'all think before we get to it?
I don't feel like they should be treated different. Like, if you can't say it about like a regular person, you shouldn't be able to say it about a public figure, because it's a human being regardless.
I mean, if you think about it, you know, why didn't Obama sue a whole bunch of people for stuff they said that wasn't verified? He's a public figure. You can say stuff about Barack Obama. Same thing with Donald Trump. Same thing about Hillary Clinton. Why didn't Hillary Clinton sue a whole bunch of people? It goes back to this case. The Supreme Court has ruled that if you're a public figure, you're in the public arena, you're open to criticism. Let's see, yeah, like, why didn't Barack Obama sue Donald Trump back in 2012 when he questioned, when Donald Trump questioned Obama's citizenship? The Supreme Court didn't force Trump to prove that Obama was born in either Indonesia or Kenya. I forget which conspiracy theory it is. Some go with the Indonesia argument, some go with the Kenya argument. But no, Donald Trump, now if we didn't have Sullivan, Times versus Sullivan, then Obama could have sued Donald Trump. What do y'all think? I know what you think. Incidentally, by the way, the funniest part of that whole episode was when Donald Trump said, all he needs to do is post his birth certificate. See, I posted a legitimate birth certificate. It actually was flawed. Don't post a birth certificate unless it's the real one. Incidentally, during this time, my daughter was going to Long King Elementary. She was starting there after being at LaGrange Academy. And when I went to pick her up, I got a note to report to the principal's office. I thought, boy, this hasn't happened in a while. And so I went to the principal and they gave me a letter. And I opened up the letter and said, we have some questions about your daughter's birth certificate. And I said, oh great, it's another birther controversy. Whatever it was, we had to go get an extra birth certificate from the hospital that afternoon, or she couldn't go back to school. That ever happened, y'all?
No.
You think it's my last name? Nah. Who knows? But I just thought that was funny. And yeah, whatever birth certificate we got from the hospital, everything was hunky-dory the next day. She could go back to, like, you know, playing with blocks or something. What do y'all think? Because this is, I mean, you're going to have to think something. Because this is going to be on the table. Whether you can criticize public figures. Donald Trump's very much in favor of, as they call it, weakening libel laws. This is the libel law. Hey, what do you think? Pros and cons to it? Now, there are limits as to who's a public figure. In 1973, the court ruled in Gertz versus Welch. There was a guy, person who was in charge of a magazine. He was basically libeling in his publications. Libel is printed, slander is spoken. He was criticizing a guy who was a lawyer for a high-profile defendant. He was slamming the lawyer as well. Gertz v. Welch, they said, the lawyer for the public figure is not a public figure. So there are some limits, in fact.
So what qualifies you as a public figure?
Well, what is a public figure? Well, first off, when we talk about public school, what do we mean by public school? Go ahead, what does public school mean when we say public school?
Open to everyone.
The what?
Isn't it like open to everyone?
Well, why is it open to everybody? You're right, but paid by taxes. It's government run,
Okay.
right? So basically, someone who's a public figure is a government official. So that's one of them. How about when people say stuff about the Kardashians? Are the Kardashians public figures? Can Kardashians sue tabloids who say bad stuff about them?
I don't know.
They have.
What?
She said they have.
Did they say to private? I mean, even if you're a TV celebrity, do you have the right to sue somebody? Well, keep in mind, what Times versus Sullivan said is, it's got to be, Times versus Sullivan said, it's got to be, I mean, it can't be outright false. It can't be totally made up.
Just kind of, it's a little,
Yeah. Now, granted, I've seen plenty of those National Enquirer things where you have like Bill Clinton speaking to an alien or something like that, and I don't even think most people bother with those. Have you heard about the Hulk Hogan and Gawker issue? You ever heard of Gawker.com? They published all the sordid lives of celebrities. Well, they basically played a sex tape that they got from somebody involving Hulk Hogan. Well, believe it or not, Hulk Hogan, even though he was a wrestling star for a long time, doesn't have as much money as we think. But a guy named Peter Thiel, Thiel, good name to know, gave Hulk Hogan a lot of money, said he'd put his legal bills to sue Gawker to put him out of business because Peter Thiel doesn't like Gawker. They ruled on behalf of Hulk Hogan that publishing this sex tape was inappropriate, and Gawker went out of business. It doesn't always happen. Believe it or not, who follows the paparazzi? Y'all watch, you know what paparazzi are, right?
like TMZ and stuff.
Yeah, well, not just them, but you know what paparazzi, like whenever they have like the cameras and they're always like trying to take pictures of people's faces. True story, you ever heard of Jackie Onassis, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis? John F. Kennedy's wife married Aristotle Onassis, who was like super wealthy. She was out swimming and a boat came up really close to take pictures of her while swimming. Almost hit her. She sued, lost. They ruled that she was a prominent enough figure, they had a right to come up and take pictures of her. They darn near almost sank her. I mean, granted, there would have probably been manslaughter charges if they did. But yeah, they ruled that the paparazzi has the right to get in your face. All of this might change. So if you want to look at where the puck is going, they always say skate where the puck is going, not where it is. Take a look at this, because libel laws, slander laws, they're going to be on the menu for the next 4 years. What you can say about somebody and can't say. And just to let you know, I mean, it'll be treated as well, Republicans want to weaken libel laws and Democrats want to keep libel laws. That's how it'll be sold. But in reality, this is what should the media be allowed to do? I'm not going to say this is a free media versus Nazi. I'm not going to go there. I will say it's a debate about what rights the press has and what rights do the people who are covered by the press have. There's a local case that made big news. Did y'all follow that? A guy had been he created his own little Facebook page, and he had been calling the Troup County Commission Chair, Ricky Wolf. He'd been basically saying he's a crook and he's been stealing money, he's been lying, he's bilking the taxpayers. And so he sued the guy. And they went to him. The standard use that they use this is absence of malice. They showed that the New York Times showed no malice to Sullivan. They didn't make up something. They just exaggerated something. And they went to this local guy with his Facebook page that he extends out. And they asked him, they said, "Did you say all these comments about Ricky Wolf with malice?" And he goes, "You're effing right I did," which was his first big mistake. Because even though this guy calls himself a constitutionalist, and he didn't read the law. And so he lost. Now he's really ticked off. He hates my guts, by the way. He trolls me on Facebook. He seriously does. That's neither here nor there or anything. But I just thought it was funny when I saw that post, and I was reading the article, and they said, "Did you use malice?" That's a time to use the brain. This is where you say, "No, I'm a concerned Troup County citizen. I was really worried. I thought our taxpayer dollars were going away." You don't go, "You're effing right I did." Y'all watch My Cousin Minnie? I shot the clerk. Okay, inside joke. I'll get back to elections. Election stuff a little later. Got one more thing. You can't see it up here, where it says shrinking sound bites. Yeah, in 1968, the average politician, when they asked this person, like when they showed a news broadcast, they gave them 42 seconds of time. Like Hubert Humphrey or Richard Nixon or George Wallace is speaking, on average, when the news media covered them, they had 42 seconds. In the 1980s, 1988, the first election I ever voted in, 9.8 seconds. In the 1990s, 7.3 seconds. Do y'all have access to cell phones, media? Let's find a story, but do y'all have like a video story where they interview politicians or so? Let's take something. What do you want to do about Donald Trump transition? Let's see how much time they actually give to Donald Trump, or how much time they actually give to Jeff Sessions or somebody. You want to test this for ourselves? Let's see how much time they give on this. You can either play it out loud or you can keep it quiet. But time how long they actually give Donald Trump. Or you can watch one from the past, like a Hillary Clinton, like when they do something about her concession speech. How much do they cover on her concession speech? Donald Trump's victory speech. How much do they actually say for his victory speech? Check out a news story. Let's do this in the remaining few minutes. Let's see how much time they give our politicians. Let's see if I can actually spell transition. Go ahead. Let's see what you got. I've got to see it. Here we go. Let's see how long this soundbite is. Three-minute story. Shit, they give him 12 seconds. Oh, add in 2 seconds. 14 seconds. Three seconds. 13. Seconds. 13 seconds. So, one that was 2 seconds, one that was 4 seconds. The other 5 were all averaging about 13 seconds. Kind of interesting. But yeah, he's the Attorney General nominee. And just so you don't think I'm like unloading on him for playing this or something like that, I've actually publicly praised him in columns. I can go over that in details later. But yeah, 3:11, and what do we got? That's like almost about, I would say more than a minute. That's like almost half of the story was devoted to quotes.
I'm trying to figure out because I know I can do better next semester.
Oh, okay.
I need just to make sure I give plenty of advice.
Okay.
And today.
Do you have enough hours?
Yes, what they say is as long as you attempted it, and you've been attending the class at least, it won't affect
That's
you.
coming up on the date, yeah.
Yeah, it will not affect you financially, even if it goes below 12.
All right. Just making sure.
I'm gonna take this next semester online, that'll be much better.
Okay, who are you taking on?
Probably, okay, I don't know who it is, sorry.
Oh, okay, I was like,
Yeah.
what?
I don't
We're
know.
looking at an online humanities course.
Yeah, well, you
It
should.
may be Elizabeth Allen.
No, it's not me. It's Dr. Appleton.
I was right.
If
Look
you
at
do,
that. What are the chances?
right, have a good day, sir. Thank you.
The,
She's the only one.
but yeah, I think she offers that.
Yeah, I'd much rather teach in person.
Yeah, I think online is good. I mean, for
I
what
taught
it
online
does.
for a year, and it's tough.
Here?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, at a different spot.
Yeah, I think that the best part about online, I did a